All right, Mark here, cooking the books, dropping a little bit of gem with you guys. So I've been doing some research over the weekend and stuff like that, and I just want to, put some stuff out there. Hopefully, some useful advice. So, like I said, in terms of this whole virus stuff, pandemic stuff, your best defense. I made videos before. I spoke about it before. Your best defense is your immune system. It's your only defense, to be technically speaking. It is, because here's why: there's nothing you can do to stop this pandemic. People, there's a lot of people saying that they're letting you get it. They're letting people. No, the government can't stop this thing. All right. First of all, we bestow too much power on mankind. Right? We bestow all these powers on mankind. They can't stop the virus no different than they can't stop a tsunami. Right? Blaming the government or powers that be for the virus, is like blaming the government for tornadoes, right? Or any kind of natural disaster, right? In defense of this guy, in defense of the guy in the White House, he can't stop it, and nobody can. Doctors, nobody can, because people got to remember, unlike a bacteria, see, a bacteria you can kill. Right? An antibiotic literally can kill a bacteria. You can't kill a virus because a virus is not alive in the first place, right? Something's got to be to kill something that would mean it's alive. Viruses doesn't live. They're not living. They're not living microorganisms. Why? Because they don't meet the threshold. There's several criteria that needs to be met to be considered life. You have to have a cell. You have to be able to replicate, which is reproduce. You have to be able to store energy, and you have to not be inertia, right? You have to be able to move. Viruses don't meet any of those standards, therefore they're not considered living entities. However, they're parasitic because they need your and I cell, in order for them to replicate and reproduce, right? So that's one, you can't kill a virus. Two, you can't cure it, because to cure the virus would mean, here's the thing, once the virus gets your body, it hijacks your cell to use your cellular machine. It hijacks your cell to use your cellular machinery to replicate itself, right? And spread and metastasize throughout the rest of your body. To cure the virus would mean they would have to take the virus out of your cell, because that's where the virus goes. It doesn't just linger in your body. It hijacks the cell. You can't take the virus out because the virus is DNA, right? And what it does, it copies its DNA into your cell. And you can't take that DNA out of the cell without damaging the cell. In other words, they can't take the virus out of you without hurting you, without killing you, simply put. So that's two reasons why you can never cure. You can't cure it. You can't get rid of it. None of that stuff. All you can do is, like I said, the adaptive immune system takes the antigen or like locks that's on the actual virus, and the antigen allows the adaptive immune system to create, by means of the plasma B cells with the bone marrow, to secrete what's called antibodies, right? So that's all you could do, is create the antibodies, and this is kind of common stuff, common information, right? You can read anything, you can find this information out, and you create the antibodies, and then you can therefore neutralize. That's it. You still can't kill or get rid of the virus. You neutralize it. You make it dormant. You make it inactive and latent. It's still in your body, though. It never goes away because it's DNA, right? But you can't kill it, you can't cure it, you can neutralize it. That's it, with an antibody. And your body has to be able to develop that. So this is what they're hoping with herd immunity. And herd immunity simply means, like, again, let everybody get sick, and whoever creates the antibody, whoever adapts, their adaptive immune system adapts to the antibody genetically, right? Because you would create an antibody which is an allele of a gene, right? An allele is just a version of a gene, so that the people who create the antibodies, what's happening is they're going to create something called an allele. Allele is a version of a gene, right? And that allele, let's say I have the antibody. When I have my son is going to get that allele, which is the version of the antibody that I create by means of my gene, and his son, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So herd immunity means all who don't create the antibody just die. That's it. Boom, going out of here, right? And those who live are those who create the antibody, and we're going to start a new generation now. And that new generation, let's use me, as I represent millions of people that got the antibody, right? I'm going to repopulate the ecosystem with a new species, right? Not a new species, same species, but a better species, more suitable to the environment, right? Because now I have the resistant, right? I am resistant to this virus. So my children's children, they're all going to have my allele, and they'll be able to pass on and repopulate the ecosystem. That's just it in a, and that's Darwinism, right? That's survival. No, it's not survival of the fittest. That's natural selection and adaptation, right? Not survival of the fittest. It's natural selection and adaptation, right? So We can't be mad at anybody. You can't be mad at your government. You can't be mad at your guy, the neighbor next door. This is not. You can't. So it's natural process. It's crazy because it's really just it's just a cycle of life. It's a process. It's a natural cycle of life, natural process. It's and it's not survival of the fittest. A lot of people think it's survival of the fittest. It's not, because fitness, in context of biology and how in this conversation, fitness has nothing to do with your genetics or how strong you are. None of that. Fitness have to do with how many kids you have. Right? Yeah, it's a surprise. Most people think fitness means like how strong, how fast you can run, how powerful this, that, intellectual. No, fitness has to do with how many kids you have. I could own 10 buildings on Wall Street, right? And I'm a multi-billionaire, and I don't have no kids. And the guy that works on the sanitation truck, he drives a truck. He's just a garbage man. He makes $30,000, $40,000 a year. He's poor compared to me, a billionaire on Wall Street. But this guy got like 10 kids. He got 5 kids. He got 1 kid, right? He only has 1 child. I have none, but I have 5 buildings. I'm a billionaire on Wall Street. He's considered fitter than I am, according to Darwinism and evolution. He would be considered fitter. This is what I'm trying to say. Fitness does not have the definition of being in a gym and being physically fit. It has nothing to do with that. Fitness does not mean, okay, socially, I'm higher on the economic scale. It has nothing to do with that. Fitness simply means your ability to reproduce and add to the gene pool. It has nothing to do with your last name either. People be thinking about, carrying your last name. That's bullshit. Let me tell you why. If my son has my last name and he goes out and kills people and becomes a psychopath, my last name is tarnished forever, right? Because my last name now will be associated with his infamy, right? So it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with your blood. Yes, your blood, your bloodline. Me contributing my bloodline to the gene pool is what's going to determine my fitness. If I got 1 kid and he has none, but he's a billionaire, I'm fitter than him. If I have 1 child and you have 2, you're fitter than me. If he has 2 and he has 3, you see where I'm going? The more children you have, the fitter you are in context of evolution. So I digressed a little bit, but yes, I threw that in there. So the thing is, so herd immunity, let everybody get sick, and those who are not, who can't adapt, the antibody, which is a gene, which is an allele, will die. That's it. It's just that simple, and it's a process. So your best bet, like I said, is just to take care of yourself, build your immune system, get a lot of exercise, and obviously do your social distancing and so on and so forth. But the best thing to do is to take your vitamins. Echinacea, a lot of echinacea. Echinacea is really good for the immune system. Flaxseed oil is very good for the immune system. They have actual immune vitamins where you can go in and it says 24-hour immune booster. You can get that. I bought some of that. Obviously your kale, your spinach, your greens, your cucumber juice and stuff like that, your green juice, all of that stuff. And again, I can't overemphasize and stress this enough. Exercise, a lot of running, a lot of jogging, a lot of exercise and cardiovascular, build up your immune system. So I did some research. I looked at 1918, 1919. I looked at all that. Between those years, you had the Spanish flu, which claimed the most lives, more than World War I and II. Like over 60 to 100 million people died. But here's what I realized too, folks. I want to put you guys on to this too. This is why there will be a laissez-faire kind of approach to this whole thing. And laissez-faire, French, means hands off. Government hands off, like don't interfere with the process. There's going to be a lot of laissez-faire. Let me tell you why. When I looked at 1918, 1919, this is when you had the Spanish flu after World War I. The Earth only had about 1.3, 1.4 billion people on it. Think about that. The whole planet, you only had about 1.3, 1.4 billion, give or take, right? By 1939, World War II, 1945, the Earth had about 2.3, about 2.3, 2.4 billion, something like that, right? Give or take a billion here, a billion there, right? No, give or take a couple millions here, a couple millions there, right? I don't remember the exact figures, but it was like 2.3, 2.4, something like that, right? Billion. So you had so it's a 1.3, 1.4 at the end of around World War I. By World War II, 1939 to 45, you had about 2.3, 2.4. So you figure the population grew by 1 billion, right, between those years. Today, we're sitting at 7.7 billion. Round that off. Just call it 8. Today we're sitting at 8 billion people on the planet. Think about that. You know what I'm saying? If it was 2 point something to 8, that's almost 4 times, right? 4 times the amount it was, 65, 70, 70 something years ago. That's not that. That's less than a century ago. The Earth grew from 2 point something to almost 8 billion. That's almost 4 times, right? So I say that to say this is why you're gonna see the laissez-faire, the hands off. So I'm not saying they could stop it, because they really can't. I mean, Moderna, they're trying to come up with vaccines or whatever, but in the interim, people are still getting sick, people are still dying. So they really can't. But there's also a psychology too out there that, okay, let nature run its course, because we're overpopulated in comparison. And now obviously there's more, technology advancements and between today and back then, so resources and all those things. But as far as population density, we're still, again, almost 4 times the population 60, 70 years ago. So that's just something that I'm drawing conclusions, and I'm kind of deducing, like, okay, you know what? I can see the laissez-faire, hands off, let it run its course, because we're kind of like, we can depopulate a little bit anyway, and we'll still be fine. I mean, China has, out of that 8 billion, I think China has like 2 or 1.8, almost 2 billion, right? Of 8, and right. 8 is 12, so that's like 25% of the world's population is in China. Then I looked at the birth rate, right, in comparison to the death rate, and the birth rate is 12 as it stands today, 2020. And the death rate, I believe, is 9. For every 1,000 people, there's 12 birth, and every 1,000 there's 9 deaths. So for every 9 people that die, there's 3 people more that's being conceived, right? Because it's 9, and 12, right? That's a 3 spread difference. So every 9, there's 3 additional people being born, right? So all of that stuff is why we have the almost 8 billion global population today, in comparison to 65, 70 years ago, it was only, just about 2.4, almost 3. And so all of that just, makes you think, it's just stuff to think about. Like, are they really, really interested in really, so take care of yourselves out there, folks. That's all. Take care of yourselves. Can't stress it enough. Stay on your knees. A lot of prayer. We got to do, we got to do a lot of praying right now. You know what I mean? Because only God can see us through this. Peace.